Welcome back to another riveting episode of Servers with Steve. So the parts are in, the computer booted up, and it's now installed in my network rack. If you made it this far in the series, this is part 3, which is my entire overview of building my own Corp server. Was it worth it? Did I enjoy it? Is it going to serve my needs? And most importantly, is it something that you should do? So let's go ahead and talk about that. All right, so let's talk about the BIOS and UEFI updates. So I didn't update BIOS on it. It booted up just fine. Is it something I need to update? Yes. Is it something that I'm currently worried about? No. And after doing some testing with it and whatnot, it seems to be fine. I did turn off, excuse me as I read my notes off my computer. I did turn off secure boot when I initially booted to the USB. I believe that is still off as of right now. Most of the time you need to turn secure boot off in order to get it to boot from a USB. That's typical across most computers. The fan curves, the thermal checks, everything looked fine in BIOS when I booted it up. I didn't see any issue with that whatsoever. Everything looked fine. All the fans were working, and we were able to continue on with loading Windows Server 2019 is what we ended up installing as the OS. So that was pretty much as far as the boot process goes. Just pretty straightforward. After we got the boot up, I took it downstairs, installed it in my network rack. I didn't necessarily worry about cable management since that's coming in a later video, another project that I plan on doing. There's another server behind me, again, another later video. So I basically just kind of temporarily ran the cables to get both networks set up on the computer, and that tested just fine. It booted up, and I'd already previously installed the drivers up here, so we didn't need to worry about that. I have 2 switches up here that go and route downstairs to my main network rack. So I was able to test the network up here and confirm it was working before we installed it, or I installed it. So the network worked just fine. That wasn't a big deal. Just literally just plug and play and we were good to go. As far as OS goes, we're running Windows Server 2019. That's what I was running previously on my R710, which is what this Corp server was replacing. And I should specify, when I say Corp server, that's just the term that I'm using in my network rack. It's short for corporate server. Essentially, it's just a test machine. So all it's really doing is running a version of Windows Server, which I have a couple smaller micro PCs that are about yay big, give or take. They're not very big. They don't take up a lot of space, but I add those to the domain, which I can do testing on, just to kind of keep up on my own knowledge. Essentially, it doesn't really serve any practical purpose, which we'll get into a little bit later as far as is this something that you should do. But essentially, like I said, it's all it really is, just a test machine to run Windows Server. Could I do this in a better way? Absolutely. Is this the way that I chose to do it? Yes. And we'll get into that too. The other thing I want to touch on is networking. Because this motherboard that I have has 2 dual Ethernet ports on it. And one's connected to the Cisco switch, which I have as my Corp switch, and the other one's connected to my UEFI network, which is my home network. That being said, it is static on both of those IP addresses just because I don't want it to lose the configuration. For those of you who are new to networking, essentially static just means it's a fixed IP address. It's not going to change in case the machine ever turns off. It's not DHCP, which is automatically assigned from the switch. We're going to kind of gloss over a lot of these. If you have, any questions as far as networking, this probably isn't the best channel to watch. Not saying that we're not going to get into it, but, I assume that you probably have some pre-depth knowledge. So they are static. I do not have any VLAN set from my UEFI side of the network. I will eventually set that up. That's something I'll do later on down the road. Again, right now it's pretty much just plugged in and it's just used for minimal testing. The other thing I did set up too was remote desktop, because I need to remote into it, because right now it's the monitor that's there is plugged into two different computers. I have a remote desktop computer that I use to remote into periodically, and then I have now the Corp server. So as far as setting up the server itself, it was pretty straightforward. If you never set up Windows Server 2019 or any Windows Server to begin with, you need to create a domain, which is what I did, and now have the domain set up. I did do some testing with one of the micro PCs that I have, which is behind me on the lower part of my desk, and it's joined to the domain successfully. I did a couple of minor changes with DNS and DHCP, as well as some policy updates, just to make things a little more secure, and do some testing with it on the micro PC that I have. Everything's worked fine so far. So I would say overall, as far as the install of the server and expectations, it's worked great for me. I have, no issues with it. I haven't done any hard testing with it, such as like virtual machines, Hyper-V, anything like that. Right now, like I said, it's just literally a domain controller, essentially at this point. Do I have plans to do Hyper-V? Yes. Am I going to do it today? No, but at some point I will do Hyper-V testing with it just to see how well it works. I have, zero issues with, I think that it's going to perform exactly how it should. So I think all in all, with the specs that I have and the hardware that I installed, I think everything will work just fine. But that's a future video, so we'll see, and I'll keep you guys updated for those who are interested in this series. As far as temps and noise levels go, it's quiet. It's definitely a lot more quiet than my R710 was, and that thing was literally like a jet engine in my office area downstairs. So as far as the expectations go for that, it literally checked every box. Can't even hear it, and it performs so much faster than the R710 was. Granted, it's probably 10 years newer than the R710 to begin with. So in that aspect, I would say it was completely worth it, which is my biggest goal, which was to quiet down the stuff that was in my network rack. So now let's go ahead and address the biggest elephant in the room. Is this something that you should do? That's going to depend. That's going to depend on a lot of different things. If you're using this in a home setting, and I mean as far as installing Windows Server or any Windows Server, not necessarily 2019, on consumer grade parts, is it worth it? In some capacities, I would say yes, but it's more so, like I said, it's going to depend on your needs and what you're trying to do. And that's not necessarily what exactly I was trying to prove. I was more so trying to prove, is it possible? Absolutely, yes, it is. Does it take some research? Yes. Is my installation going to be as seamless as yours? It depends on your parts. It depends on what hardware you're using. Motherboard, RAM. I mean, RAM's not really going to configure, but the motherboard essentially is really going to be kind of what's going to dictate, especially if you're using, again, a consumer grade motherboard and not a enterprise grade motherboard. Because there's differences between the two as far as how well they're going to work. Because right now, a lot of the ASUS stuff that I have that's integrated with the motherboard doesn't work very well, and I haven't really tried to configure it to work because I don't need it to. But if you go and look at the the system information at the beginning of when you get into the the setup for Windows Server 2019, it flags those and it's red, and I can show you guys on the screen. But essentially, it doesn't play ball very well with the ASUS software that it wants to run. And that's not a big deal. Again, like I said, this is specifically a corporate server for testing is all it really is going to live to be. So I can't really say one way or another, is it worth it or should you do it? Yeah, if you want to learn, I would say absolutely. And if you're trying to save a couple bucks and you have a PC that's already, lying around that you're not doing anything with it, by all means, make sure that it can run Windows Server 2019 and install it if you want to learn, because I think that's a great, fantastic way to learn Windows Server. Unless you're, currently doing it on the job, I would say if you want to learn it outside of work, I think it's a great way. So in that aspect, yes, I would say it's absolutely worth it 100% to go ahead and install Windows Server. Could I have done this in a cheaper way? Yeah, but again, this is something that I want to learn Hyper-V on, which is why I built it the way I did. So that being said, yes, I think this was a great idea. As far as what I tried to and wanted to accomplish, it checked all the boxes. It's quiet. It's more powerful than the R710, and I think it'll perform much better. And it will run Hyper-V for sure. I don't see any reason why it won't. But I think that's going to go ahead and wrap it up as far as this video goes. If you have any questions as far as anything that I've, installed on the server, feel free to drop your comments down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe. And like I said, I plan on doing an update video, once I get the server a little bit more settled in and I get a couple more machines on the domain and do some more testing with it. And I'll keep you guys updated as far as how well it holds up with Hyper-V, because I think that's going to be the next, question is how well did it work? So, like I said, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment if you have any questions, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks.